quite a few of you on the topic of fatigue. And of course, at this time of year, a lot of us are getting over viruses. It's been, sort of virus season, and that can leave us with feelings of fatigue. Also, the weather and the dark nights can get us down a bit, and we can just feel a bit rubbish. But there are lots of feelings for experiencing fatigue. We've been going through a bit of fatigue lately because we've had a virus which just seems to have had that, led to some lingering fatigue. Of course, we just moved house just before Christmas. We've also had a family bereavement in the last couple of weeks. So, there have been lots of things that have fed into that. But it made me think a bit about the topic of fatigue and how we're all of us affected by it at different stages in our lives, different times, and even throughout the day sometimes. But there are lots of reasons why we can end up feeling fatigued. And it's when it continues, when it lingers, that we really need to look into the why. So when it's going on for days and weeks and months, we need to look at why that might be. And it's such a complex and fascinating area that I thought that we would keep that as our theme instinctively over the next few weeks, because there's so much to delve into. And I just thought I'd just throw in a few examples today just to give you a bit of food for thought at this stage. But, yes, it could be that you're just getting over a virus, or you've been through a period of stress. Other obvious things could be that you've had sleep problems. Now, again, if you are having sleep problems, why? What are the factors that lead to sleep problems? I meet people who will say, oh, well, I've always been a bad sleeper. I've always been a terrible sleeper. But again, it's thinking, well, why? What have been the factors that have contributed to that, and not taking these things for granted? And if we have had a virus and we're finding that symptoms are lingering, and we're going on to have, long-term fatigue, whether that's long COVID or any kind of post-viral fatigue, the question is why? What are the factors that have set the scene to enable that to happen, so that we don't recover, so that we're not as resilient as that we might like to be? And again, there's always a why. In fact, there are multiple reasons why. So that's where, we need to be looking into that. What about nutrient deficiencies? Obviously, that's quite a big part of our work, and it's something you would expect to address with a nutritional therapist. But again, there are lots of whys. If you're experiencing a nutrient deficiency, a really common one that people know about associated with fatigue would be iron. And that's well known, and anemia and so on. That, obviously you're going to feel fatigue if you have low levels of iron. But the question is, again, why? And you could say, well, maybe I'm not eating enough of those foods. But maybe you are eating lots of those iron-rich foods, but you're just not absorbing those foods. Now, if you're not absorbing them, then again, that's not a reason. It's part of the reason. We've then got to think, well, wait a minute, why are you not absorbing the foods? What are the contributing factors there, and what's going on? So that's another aspect that needs addressing. Equally with iron, it could be that you're having heavy periods. And again, with that blood loss, then again, that's a reason for losing iron and not having enough iron. But again, the question then is, well, why am I having heavy periods? What are the factors that have come together to create that situation where I've now got hormonal imbalance and I'm left with heavy periods? And there are many reasons for that. So that'll be another topic that we'll be addressing over the next while. Again, hormonal imbalance generally can cause problems with fatigue. So that's something else that we'll be looking at. We'll also be thinking about the shifts that happen as we go through various stages of our reproductive lifetime. We'll also be looking at blood sugar imbalance, because again, if blood sugar's imbalanced and it's going up and down through the day instead of being nice and even and stable, obviously that's going to lead to major problems with energy. But again, if we've got problems with blood sugar, why would that be? And again, there are multiple reasons, multiple factors that feed into that. So we'll be looking at those things over the next while. Thyroid issues. Now, a wonderful little butterfly gland which sits in our neck, that thyroid gland, is responsible for so many functions in the body. It's a little wee miracle of nature that does so many wonderful things. It's responsible for our metabolism, And again, it's a much more common issue now for people, particularly ladies, to have problems with thyroid function. Now, we all have a thyroid gland. We all need to take care of it. That means we need to be managing stress, managing sleep, eating well, eating enough protein to make thyroid hormone, having enough iron. That's another nutrient really relevant to thyroid health. But sometimes there can be longer term issues which come from autoimmune issues around thyroid, and we can develop underactive thyroid or even overactive thyroid. So these are things, again, that can cause problems with fatigue, but other symptoms with thyroid, if it's underactive, when everything slows down, then we can have problems losing weight. We can find that we're feeling cold all the time. That we're feeling so fatigued that we just can barely function. We have severe brain fog. It has been described as walking through treacle or walking through mud, that feeling of, absolute grinding fatigue. We may have anxiety, palpitations, hair loss, constipation is a common one with thyroid, with underactive thyroid. And if it's overactive, it's the opposite end. Everything speeds up, so you might find you have softer stools, that you have palpitations, that you lose weight no matter what you eat. So the other end of the spectrum, but that's much more rare. Very, very common is the underactive scenario. And we can have blips with our thyroid due to temporary things, but we can have those longer term issues as well. And these are things that, again, we'll be delving into, and we'll be talking about testing issues for that as well. Because with all of these things, obviously as a clinic, we do testing for all of the above. Obviously we test nutrients, we also look at hormones, we also look at thyroid, and we do big screens to check all of these things. So it's really a no stone left unturned approach. But whatever's going on in your life, I think that the key thing, just to finish up with today, is that, when we're tired, we're all very good at saying, oh, well, it's just because, and we blame it on something, or maybe someone else blames it on something and says, oh, it's just your age, or you're going through menopause, or you've got 2 children or 3 children under 5, of course you're tired. And there can be these more normal aspects to tiredness if we're just super busy or whatever. But there are many other reasons, and what I've mentioned today are just a few tiny number of examples that can create problems with fatigue. And sometimes we could have all of those. We could be someone who's experiencing all of the above and then some. There are many, many more that we haven't gone through in the short little chat that I've had with you today. But I think really where I want to inspire you is to think about those hidden reasons for fatigue. And even when we find the reasons, we then look for more reasons. We then take it further. So why am I low in that nutrient? Why am I having heavy bleeding? Why am I having hormonal imbalance? Why are there those anomalies with my thyroid? Or why is it that I take thyroxine and I still don't feel great? The why is really what we're into in a big way. So really, I liken nutritional therapy and functional medicine to being a bit like a 2-year-old, because we constantly ask why. When the answer comes, we ask another why. And we're constantly addressing those reasons. And that's really the exciting part of our job, because that's the detective work, that's the fun part. And because it's only by addressing those things and finding out the why that we can then unravel the whole story and unpick that story and really find ways of helping that person to get back on the road to recovery and feeling more themselves. So anyway, I hope that's given you a bit of food for thought today. It is lovely today. The sun has come out again. It's been quite a nice week. If you're not up in Aberdeen, you may have read that we were the hottest place in the country a couple of days ago, and I actually had a walk and took my coat off. It was so warm. So that definitely boosted me, and I am going to go for a walk in a little while again, because it's quite nice. A bit cooler today, but it's still nice. So it's nice to get out for a walk at lunchtime. I don't know if any of you do. Let us know in the comments if you do. But did you know that if you do go for a walk over your lunch period or first thing in the morning, that bright light, when it enters your eye, and actually boosts your serotonin, which is your neurotransmitter associated with mood. So if you can get out, then wrap up warm today maybe, but enjoy yourselves and just have a nice little break in the day. It's always nice to get outside, even for 10 minutes. And oddly enough, last night I posted on, it was in Instagram stories actually, if you follow us on the other side on Instagram. If you don't, have a look over on the other channel, you'll find us there. But in the stories I mentioned, it was actually a Mark Hyman post on the fact that if we do a brisk walk every day for 10 minutes, it can take years off our age. So I think that sounds like a nice, easy thing to do, a 10-minute brisk walk every day, if it's going to be health promoting. So anyway, have a lovely day, have a great afternoon, and hopefully hear from you guys soon. Okay, thanks, bye.